What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And this is Fancy Dance. I'm not actually doing a fancy dance right now. This is the name. That's the name of the movie. I I, I could do a fancy dance. A little bit of a. I kind of sit in a chair, so it's really hard to anyway. It's on Apple Plus. It has audio description from 3Play Media. Um, Narrated by Roy Samuelson. And this film stars Lily Gladstone and a young, bright newcomer by the name of Isabella D. Dalavarian, or I don't know. You know, a screen reader pronounces names to me, like a robotic one decides this is how the name should pronounce, and I have not heard her name pronounced by a human yet. So, but I did want to give her a shout out because if I'm going to list best performances by a child actor this year, she's going to be there. So I need to, between now and the end of the year, figure out exactly how to say her name, because it's weird to honor somebody and be like, I don't know the name. You know, I always remember Chris Rock saying, y'all can say Schwarzenegger, but you can't say Quavagene. And it's like, it's not that I can't say Quavagene. I just need somebody to definitively say Quavagene. So that way I know how to say it. um, it's This is directed by Erica Tremblay, who has worked on Reservation Dogs and Dark Winds. Obviously has really strong indigenous roots and is working to create content specifically for the indigenous people. This it does have a on IMDb. If you look, it's a 2023 movie, but it didn't get released in 2023 theatrically. It's technically a 2024 movie, which is kind of like Hitman, which premiered at a film festival in 2023 and then got moved. So, it's new. It's on Apple Plus, and I really liked it. I liked it a lot, which makes sense because the film has it got selected for Sundance's little filmmaking lab. It's Lily Gladstone. One of the best things we did was give her an Oscar nomination, because obviously what she wants to do and what she's going to continue to do is put light on the indigenous populations of North America. And that's great. She's not just gonna play characters. She's actually trying to bring to light a lot of these underrepresented stories that for a long time have had actors who don't necessarily have recognizable household names. But now that Lily Gladstone is Academy Award nominee Lily Gladstone, she can anchor a lot of projects like Fancy Dance, who the second biggest star here is Shea Whigham, to be honest. And then he's really not in that much of a film. So, Shea Whigham's not going to bring people in to a film. So, we're kind of, it has a little bit of that vibe of Wind River with Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen. There's an indigenous woman who has gone missing. It's the sister of Jax, played by Lily Gladstone, who's also the mother of Rainey. I think that's her name. That is Isabella's character. And basically, they had all been kind of living together. Jax has sort of a little bit of a checkered past, and but she is determined to find her sister and find this child's mother. And of course, she knows realistically about the statistics around missing indigenous women and what that looks like, and the likelihood of her coming home. But in the middle of all this, there's this weird custody battle because she's not technically the child's guardian, and she has a record. So protective services comes and takes her and puts her with her grandfather, who barely knows her, who is played by Shea Whigham, who is a white grandfather. So it's like it's taking You know, this girl is deeply entrenched in her indigenous culture. She's looking forward to going to a powwow. Um, she wears like her mom's really indigenous clothing, and so it's all about what happens when you start to kind of strip that away, because clearly she's going to live with her white grandparents that are because they're getting away on a technicality. She tries to stop them and she's like, no, you can't do this. There are laws against taking away indigenous children from their families. I'm like, we're not. We're giving temporary guardianship to the grandfather. They don't care that the grandfather's not indigenous, but there's a blood trail there, so blood relation, so good enough for them. Um, and you know, I don't like the IMDb description on here because it's really sort of an oversimplification of the thing. It's like she kidnaps the daughter, the girl, and blah blah blah. That's not really what happens. Basically, for quite a lot of the movie, those two are already together, and they go around trying to make ends meet and trying to see if anybody knows anything about or has seen or has heard or anything about her mother that's missing. So they're sort of together on this journey, and Lily Gladstone is, well, the girl's interested in the powwow, and Lily's mentioned, you know what, maybe she'll go up there to the powwow. There's even somebody who mentioned something about that, like said something, well, you know, she's probably, and she'll be able to dance. You know, so she does this kind of crazy stuff sometimes. She just kind of goes off. So, lots of references to, you know, drug addiction and stuff like that. So there's a reason to believe, and it's given a reason to believe to, I'm going to keep saying Rainey. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I'm sorry. That her mother will be at the powwow. Now, when she goes to her white grandparents, they don't want her to go to the powwow because they're white and they don't understand conceptually what culture is, I guess. So yeah, and not only is this girl very all about being an indigenous person, but she's also was really looking forward to the powwow because her mom might be there. So that when they take that away from her, basically Lily Gladstone steps in. You can call it kidnapping, but she never should have been taken from Lily Gladstone to begin with because she was already living there. It's an odd situation. It's like the two of them were already in a situation where they were living together, like the two sisters and Rainey, and then the sister went missing. So it's like if that is already the family unit, and you're saying that she's incapable of she kind of already was doing it. So I blame the government. This film does not paint the government in really great light anyway. Erica Tremblay does a really good job of making you go, what the fuck, government? There's an ICE agent in this, and his scene is just dreadful. Just like I wanted to like defund the government just by watching. I was like, can he do this? Is this real? Do we let our ICE agents do this? First of all, I'm pretty certain Lily Gladstone looks Native American. Like, I feel like she looks Native American. She's not one of these questionable. I know that we've used actors and actresses with like I want to say like Central South American heritage in filling in roles before in films as indigenous populations of North America when they're not really from North America, they're from Central and South America. And but this, as soon as you talk to her, she's literally, not only does she speak perfect English, but it's actually kind of got a regional accent to it. Like any idiot would know this is not somebody who jumped a border. Like, plus she's too old. Like what kind of a, even if she was a dreamer, like that's one hell of a dream for her to have been in the country that long, to where she has no accent at all and has actually developed instead a regional accent. So ICE people should not just be able to stop people who are brown for no reason whatsoever. There are plenty of reasons why brown people could be here. If you turn around to somebody and they have zero accent and actually kind of speak with a little bit of a southern, maybe Ozarkian type of an accent. I'm trying to think of like what she Midwestern type of an accent that Gladstone has. You know, it's the conversation's over. You don't continue to ask for paperwork. This person is obviously an American, born and bred. Um, so, and the little girl has, again, no accent. So, like, it's just like, what is his job? To just stop people who are not white? Like, and ask them, do you belong in this country? Fuck you, do you belong in this country? You know? I love how he has a gun too. Like I might stop an American citizen and ask them for papers, and they may be upset with me, and I may have to shoot them. Like, he's just a terrible representation of everything that's wrong about this country. So I hated that guy. And if any interaction like that has ever happened, and Erica wrote that into the film, even if it's not consistent with happening all the time, if it's ever happened before, then fuck that agent, fire them, get them out. I hated this guy so much. Like, I was hoping he got hit by a car in the parking lot on the way out and just done, you know, just be like, what happened to him? I don't know, he's dead. We're gonna keep driving. Yeah, that scene enraged me. As far as Erica's direction and where she's going with the film, I love the film. I love Fancy Dance. This is one of my favorite films of the year. This is Fancy Dance. I have to say, I love it so much for what it is that it actually, I'm not giving it an A, and I'll tell you why. And this is a lesson for Erica. Uh, we'll get there. Um, is even, I love the film. I love the journey that it took me on. I love the acting, everything. I think it's an important film. I think all that kind of stuff. We need more films like this. All those things are true. And this might be one of the first times where I put a film that I'm giving an A- to in my top 10 because, but I can't give it an A. It has a glaring piece of bullshit that I cannot get around. Oh my God, I can't get around it. I'm so sorry. I just cannot. And it's a little bit of a spoiler, and I apologize. I'm going to try to keep it as unspoilery as possible, and I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but I have to talk about one thing really specifically that caused it to go from an A to an A-. At the end of the film, we get to the powwow. When we get to the powwow and we see Lily Gladstone, she's walking around. It's like she comes up on the powwow and it's like in progress. And we don't know what's happening. Like, there isn't really context to what she's walking in on. But we are giving context to two things. And the first one is the mother-daughter dance. And the second one is the victims of murder / missing persons in the community dance. Back to back. The two things that she might need to be there for the most happen to be programmed back to back. And I'm like, were you afraid of having the film go a little bit longer? You know, I would have had the first one, and she doesn't get what she wants out of that. This is my way of dodging spoilers. She doesn't get what she wants out of the first dance. And so then there's a break, and they call in another dance, right? And so she's still wandering around. I'm doing a really good job of not spoiling this for you, by the way. It's just like on point. Somebody who's seen Fancy Dance is going to be like, damn, he's on fire right now. You put in something else there. And then later on, when, you know, you throw in and she hears the other dance, and then she turns around and then she goes in. It's like anybody would know to do that. Like, I don't know why you did it that way. I really don't. Like, it's baffling to me. It's baffling that those dances are back to back because it feels so cheap. It feels like It feels like we're running out of time. How much film do we have left? I don't know, but we gotta finish this movie. Move it along. Which was so, God, I love this movie so much. But when they did those dances back to back, I was just like, damn it. It's like this is not good writing. And the fact that somebody in the lab, in the Sundance Writers Lab, didn't go, huh, you know, is there any way that maybe we could put something in between there? And like everybody was like, yeah, that's totally makes sense, you know. You could ratchet tension, can't you? It would have spread out the tension, it would have spread out the panic, it would have done everything it needed to do by putting just at least something in there, a beat, a pause, another dance, something, instead of literally back-to-back dances. So, that was very disappointing. Very disappointing. A very disappointing ending to the movie too, by the way, in terms of doing that. I mean, I get how the film ends, and it does kind of end actually, just sort of like a really like we ran out of time almost. It really does kind of feel like bam, and the scene, close, done, goodbye. It has one of the more abrupt endings that I can think of in film history, which would have bothered me less if you had, you know, held the scene, built the tension, you know, had a little bit of panic, a little bit more, you know, had that going on, instead of what you actually did, which was you copped out at the end there, which sucks because I like this movie a lot. And it seriously, it might be in my top 10. It's definitely going to be in my top 25. I feel very passionate about this film. I might overlook the end and put this in my top 25. Certainly Lily Gladstone has a solid chance of being in my top 10 Best Actress list at the end of the year. I actually like this performance for her more than I do in Killers. I really do, because this film is actually centered around her character. This film is actually centered around Jax. Maybe it's not as impressive because it's not like a period piece, and we can't talk about it because it's not Scorsese. You know, I'm sure like film buffs are gonna be like, "Oh my God, Killers, is perfect." Killers was told through the story of a white guy. We told a Native American story through white people. It was so confusing that SAG, basically the only Indigenous nominee at SAG was Lily Gladstone. So they couldn't figure out how to nominate more Indigenous people in a film about Indigenous people. Um, and I think she sings Watusi in here too, by the way. I think the song, Watusi, that song for my people, that was nominated at the Oscars for Killers of the Flower Moon, I think she sings something like that here. It's almost like a nice companion piece to Killers, except it has nothing to do with Killers. Because like it's very different. It's a lot closer to Wind River. Like if you're trying to do a double feature, I wouldn't double feature this with Killers. I would double feature it with Wind River, which has a much closer thematic thread to it than this. So, audio description. 3Play has been doing a lot of stuff for Apple. Apple has had really solid audio description like the whole way through. I've been really impressed with their stuff. I'm always impressed with Roy Samuelson as a narrator. He's a very thoughtful narrator. He really adds an emotional context to everything that he does. Some people, for some reason, don't like want that, but they're like, it's coming from like companies. They think that we want droning narration or something. It's like, no one wants that. We're actually trying to get away from using TTS. We're trying to get away from droning narration. So I don't want TTS, and I don't want something that's TTS adjacent. If you think about audiobooks, what makes you want to listen to an audiobook? A voice that just goes, Oliver Twist opened the door, and when the door opened, Oliver went in. Oliver then walked across the room. He walked across the room and stood there and stared out. He stared, and he saw Fagin down below. Like, that would fucking bore the hell out of you. Those are not real Charles Dickens words. I don't have Oliver Twist memorized. Wouldn't that be cool? But yeah, you want somebody who like is also interpreting and also matching thematically. There's so much involved in this that's casting. that's picking the right voice. And the only thing that I would say about why I wouldn't choose Roy for this would have been if there was, because this film leans heavily on being filmed on Cherokee. It's like endorsed by the Cherokee Nation or something at the top of the film that lets you know this is the blessing of the Cherokee Nation. And would have been if we had an indigenous narrator that was up for the position. I'm not saying 3Play needs to like seek out and force an indigenous narrator to work for them. We have a film. It's about indigenous people and you will work for us. Like, dude, if nobody applied, fine. So as long as that didn't happen, Roy's an absolutely perfect choice. But yeah, the only thing that really could have maybe made more sense. But then again, if that indigenous narrator is not any good, then like it's a nice thought. It's one of those nice thoughts. But then again, Roy does exactly what I'm saying, which is it's such an interpretation thing. It's understanding understanding what you're saying and the source material and the themes and having the right mood for what it is that you're saying and understanding the gravitas and everything. And he does it perfectly. So I don't know that there would be somebody who would, but if there was somebody who was even at a comparable level to his, who was indigenous, I would be fine with that. Just because this film is like raining indigenous all over it. And I think considering we're getting a little bit more indigenous content, but it still is such a small population. It's smaller than all of the other populations in terms of content. We get more, Black, Asian, Latino, or Latinx content, LGBT content, whatever, pick one. We get more of all of that than we do content centered around indigenous populations. So too often they have to fucking play Indians and, Westerns and shit like that with like really bad stereotypes. That's why I use the stereotype word. That was intentional. Too bad that is too much of the representation is that. And that is, we don't get enough of this. She's just Jax, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's just an indigenous woman who wants to find her sister and lives on the res and really understands her culture and is going to do the best that she can for her niece. So I really enjoyed Fancy Dance. I think it's a strong directorial debut for America Tremblay. And great performance from Lily Gladstone, great performance from Isabella de Oliveira, or I'll learn how to pronounce her name. And I'm giving Fancy Dance an A-. Yeah. Honestly, it'd have an A if it wasn't. This is a weird film because I'm giving it an A-, but I'm telling you, this isn't like the top 3 for me right now for this year. But I really can't. But the scene was just so, it hurt. It was like a slap to me. I was like, really? You're putting those dances back to back? Come on now. Come on. It's too convenient for the storyline, and I wish somebody had told her that, because I feel like she had the ability to fix that. This is not an unfixable problem. So, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.